Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome back to my channel. If you're a subscriber, big hugs, as usual. How you doing? I'd love to know who you are, and where you're at on your journey. And, I'd love to feel like I'm not talking to myself. So please, 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 please say something in the comments. Even if it's just hello. It'd be really, really nice to hear from you. Something somebody asked me the other day, random, and not on YouTube, was how do you deal with the twin flame journey? Oh my goodness. What a question. How do you deal with the twin flame journey? My goodness. I think that question would be answered very differently from person to person. And I don't think any of us really have a clue how to handle it, if you know what I mean. We're thrown into this completely crazy, bizarro scenario. Did you notice how that rhymed then? Bizarro scenario. It's quite a good one. We're thrust into this bizarre, kind of world where everything has been thrown base over apex, and you haven't got a clue what's going on. And then you don't know what it is, where it comes from. At least this was my experience, until one day I just stumbled by accident upon the term twin flame, and then looked it up and thought, thank goodness for that. I'm not the only crazy person in the world then. I'm not losing my marbles. Because that's honestly, sometimes that is exactly what it feels like. It feels like you're losing your marbles. I'll give you a perfect example. And this is where, again, the dualism that I was talking about in a previous recording comes into play, because there is the dualism between what we call the 3D world and what is referred to as the 5D world, which is the fifth dimension and third dimension. For those who are not familiar, I would say the physical reality we live in, everything we can see, touch, hear, feel through the five senses, and then the spiritual world, which obviously we can't see or touch, but we can intuitively feel and know. And, when those two worlds, I think on the twin flame journey, put my teeth back in, I think what twin flamers are thrust into is the balance between those two worlds, I would say that in before I met my twin flame, I was living too much perhaps in the spiritual world. I always used to say that I had one foot in one world and one foot in the other. But in actual fact, I think I came to the realization that I had both feet in the spiritual world and none here on earth. Simply because since my near-death experience that I talked a little bit about in in a previous recording, it was the nicer world, quite frankly. In the spiritual world, there's peace, there's happiness. Nobody fights anybody. There's no bickering, no mundane day-to-day things to deal with, no bills to pay. It's quite a really nice world. In fact, I'd put my curtains up in that world. I had my sunflowers growing over one side in that world, had roses on the other. I had this beautiful garden. I was in Eden until my twin flame slapped me down to earth and made me bring one foot back into this world, which is the little world we live in. So, we should be firmly planted in this world as much as the other. But there are moments where I personally felt like I was going insane. I'll give you an example. Long story, but I had a criminal knock on my door one day, and I'm not going to go into the details, but he tried to pull a knife on me and threaten me, and he didn't get anywhere with it, but he tried. And then obviously after that, somebody tried to break in the house a few times, and again, thankfully never managed to, but they tried. And it was one of those nights that they kept me up till 4:30 in the morning because they were trying to break in. You'd say, well, why didn't you pick up the phone and call the police? I don't know, because I froze, because I whatever. But that particular night, I felt my twin flame in the spiritual, in the 5D, telling me exactly what to do, how to behave, what security measures to take. Things that I was kind of like, where the heck is that coming from, Things I'd never even imagined and never thought of, never heard of. And I was like, well, where's all this stuff coming from? I don't know anything about security or home security or personal security. I mean, yeah, I know how to be careful travelling throughout India or Nepal or another country because I've travelled to 44 of them. But I've never been that safety conscious, and I certainly didn't know about, what I learnt that night. And it was almost as if it was all coming from the energy of my twin, because he was in my mind while I was thinking of all these security measures. And instead of calling the police, I was staying very calm, and I was preparing myself actually to face the intruder, which is probably not the best thing, and I do not recommend it. If you've got a phone near you and somebody's trying to break in your house, get out of the house and call the police. Be safe first, yeah? Do not do what I said. Just be safe. If you ever hear anybody trying to break in your house, just get out if you can and call the police. Remember that possessions are not more important than people. I think this is a lesson the twin flame journey actually teaches you, that the material is far less important than the spiritual in some respects. And I think that that's not perhaps the lesson. The lesson is perhaps knowing what to prioritize. I think that's what the twin flame journey actually teaches us in another respect. What to prioritize, how to prioritize it, and when to prioritize it. Yeah. And that is very powerful and very empowering, extremely powerful and empowering. But as I was saying, all these downloads were coming to me about safety, security, and, until 4:30 in the morning. And because I was thinking of him, and it was like he was talking to me telepathically, which, if you listen to a lot of people out there who talk about the twin flame journey, they actually say that twin flames are telepathic with each other. Well, I believe that we are all telepathic. If you want to believe in the stories of Atlantis and the Atlantean population, or even if you don't want to believe in that, but you want to go back as far as the first man on Earth, think about the first man on Earth. It doesn't matter what theory you believe about where the first man on Earth came from, whether you believe he came from Darwin's theory and ape, which I personally don't, or if he came down to Earth from another planet because maybe that civilization on that planet destroyed itself like we are going to if we don't start stopping down our advances and all the rest of it. And the first man landed here because he was looking for solace from his planet that was dying, being destroyed, being bombed, or whatever, whatever might have happened. If you look at the Mayan caves some time ago, I think it was back in the 80s, they found hieroglyphics, which were pictures essentially of man coming down in a little flying saucer kind of thing. I know that sounds far-fetched for many people, but then why should it? Are we not sending probes out into space to find other planets? Do you think that, eventually one of those planets won't be habitable? If the Earth's surface could become habitable after eons and eons and eons, what's to say that another planet can't be habitable, after eons and eons and eons? Or what's to say that there isn't a planet out there that is habitable, we just haven't found it yet? I mean, if you think of, obviously you young people out there wouldn't be able maybe to appreciate this, but anybody who was born in the 60s or 50s or 40s, if you look at the advances that have been made technologically from the 40s to now, anything's possible. The sky's the limits, right? So it is possible that we came from another planet. However, if man landed here, he might have brought his own language, he might not. If he encountered a population that was already here, or if that world where he lived was like our world, had different countries, different languages, different everything, then maybe there was no real language. Perhaps that's it. Perhaps we were all telepathic. I mean, that's also possible, right? But in this day and age of distractions and a kind of distancing from our true inner essence and our true selves, we've kind of moved away from that, yeah? So if you're not used to telepathy and this happens to you, you know, like it did with me, with your twin flame, like it feels like he's bombing you with all this safety information to keep you safe, it can feel like you're going crazy. It can feel like you're going out of your mind because the 3D aspect of you says it's not possible. And the 5D aspect of you is going, it is possible, it's happening right now. And then you think, well, it's only happening from my end because it's not happening from his end because he's not literally on the phone telling me. Well, why does he need to? If he is a part of you, which I greatly believe that our twin flames are a part of us, then he is communicating to you from that part of him that is inside you. And when I say him and her, this isn't gender specific, okay? I'm just talking about energies. Energies have no gender. I'm talking about the parts of you that need to be integrated. So maybe it was just the part of me within me that I refer to as the part of him that is within me that was giving me this information. So perhaps it was telepathic communication, perhaps it was intuition. But nonetheless, it was coming from a part of me. There was a part of me that I didn't know, yeah? And when I say that, it's, oh goodness, how can I put this? Yeah, at the same time of battling ourselves, yeah, doing our inner soul searching and reintegrating all the parts of us, perhaps that's it. We are also integrating those parts of us that we don't know. And that part of us that we don't know is obviously the energy of the twin flame that we've never really that we've never experienced before. And so therefore we're getting to know it. And reaching that point of peace and balance and everything is when we've learnt who or what or any other word you want to use, the energy is that belongs to the divine masculine, and you've integrated it within yourself, if that makes sense. I really hope that makes sense because I hear myself saying it and I kind of think sometimes that it doesn't make sense, even though I'm saying it, yeah. If it's confusing, please do let me know. Leave a comment. I'll try and explain it a better way. I'll have a think and when I meditate and yeah, I'll come back with a maybe clearer answer. Until next time, much love and take care. And just remember, you are not going crazy, okay? I think it's very important to remind yourself that you are just going through self-discovery and you are going through self-unification and getting to know yourself. Just don't allow it to mentally affect you, okay? Because I think that on the twin flame journey, I can see why it would be very easy for somebody to commit suicide. I really do. I can see why people can fall into depression, lose their mind, lose their sanity, and become suicidal. So please, 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 if you ever feel anything similar, close to, get in touch with somebody, reach out to somebody, let them help you, okay? Because this journey can test you on every single level. And I mean every single level. And it's so deep and intense. It can produce all kinds of emotions, feelings. Everything comes to the surface, you know. It's like, it is a purging. It's not like, it's a complete purge. But anyway, You are an amazing human being. Just keep that in mind, okay? You are incredible. You have so much to offer everybody. You give so much of yourself to everybody. And this is that moment in time where you need to reach out to somebody if you need somebody, okay? Much love again. Till next time. Thank you so much. Take care.